Hi everyone, my name is Chandler Mordecai, and in today's installment of our domestic violence awareness videos, we will be discussing several forms and signs of abuse. Domestic violence can take place in many different forms. Today, we will be discussing physical abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse, and digital abuse. Physical abuse is the existence of a pattern of abusive behavior, such as kicking, slapping, hitting, or punching. This is when an abuser tries to force or maintain control over a victim by physically exerting force over that victim. Emotional abuse is when a perpetrator uses verbal techniques such as gaslighting, intimidation, name calling, and isolation to force or maintain control over a victim. Gaslighting is when words, experiences, or actions are used against the victim and twisted to make that victim question his or her reality. This is a way for perpetrators to exert control over victims by making them question if what they're experiencing is even real. Gaslighting is when victims are made to believe that they are crazy. Another form of emotional abuse is isolation, and this is when victims feel that their internal and external resources are completely taken away from them, and they're completely cut off from their family and friends. This is designed to make sure that victims have no means of escape from their abuser. They have no outside help and no resources for help. Intimidation is used to invoke fear in a victim, so that often at times victims are too afraid to leave their abuser. They're too afraid for fear of the consequences or what their abuser might do to their friends, themselves, their family, or even their children. One of the most common ways that abusers enact emotional violence is by telling their victim that no one will believe them, that no one will believe their story, and that no one will help them. Other forms of financial abuse is when an abuser maintains complete control over bank accounts, cash, credit cards, or debit cards, again making it impossible for victims to have access to monetary funds. Often at times, victims cannot leave their abusive relationships because they have little to no financial resources. Digital abuse is when an abuser maintains control over digital devices and social media accounts. This can look like when an abuser maintains control over how many friends a victim can have on social media, what types of conversations a victim can have with his or her friends, what type of postings a victim can complete on social media, as well as monitoring conversations and communications over social media. So, how can you help victims of abuse? Often at times, victims who leave their abusive relationships leave with little to nothing. They have little to no financial resources. So abuse shelters can be instrumental in helping victims' life after abuse. Start by donating to local shelters such as Safe Place or the YWCA of Central Alabama. These donations can help stock shelters with resources for victims. They can also help provide counseling services, educational programs, and legal advocacy for victims of abuse. Again, if you are in an active situation where you feel like your life is in danger, please call 911 or your local first responders. If you have questions about your safety, please call the Alabama Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-650-6522 for help today. In our next installment video, we'll be talking about some myths and facts about domestic violence perpetrators and victims.